Are you ready to get really clear about this problem? Are you ready to explore what is clearly the biggest stumbling block to getting help? And this applies to both the individual and the family. During the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through a clinical explanation about denial. We will look at what it is and the many forms that it takes. So why do we talk about denial? Why is it so important? The reason denial is so important is for this simple reason. I just said it a moment ago. Denial is the biggest stumbling block to getting the help you need. And this applies to both the person with the drug problem and their family. Now, for this segment to be effective, it is critically important that you go through the exercises in the worksheet for Module 1. And one more thing before we get started. Have fun with yourself in this module. Try to see yourself in the examples and laugh, either at yourself or another family member. Being able to see the humor in these examples helps us move past them. Okay? Let's get started with denial. Let's start with the definition. What is denial? Denial is a mechanism by which we protect ourselves from some threatening awareness about ourselves, someone else, or a situation. Denial lives below the level of conscious awareness. It clouds one's ability to recognize the facts or the reality of their lives. It impairs judgment and increases self-delusion. And while lying may be part of denial, denial is generally not a deliberate intent to deceive another. The person in denial believes the lie as well. So now let's go through some common denial and avoidance techniques. And for each one of these, I will give you a name of the technique, a definition, and an example. So here is the first one. Rationalizing. Rationalizing is offering alibis, excuses, justifications, or other explanations for the behavior. The behavior is not specifically denied, but an inaccurate explanation of the cause is given. Here's the situation. Bethany has always been an A student, but this year her grades are not so hot. She has some new friends that she hangs out with a lot, especially on the weekends, and often she wants to spend the night with one of them on Friday and Saturday night. Here is how rationalization plays into her mom's description of the problem when having coffee with a friend. Well, I know that she's not doing as well in school this year, but she's under a lot of stress. She's taking all AP classes, and she is so involved in all those extracurricular activities. Can you see how rationalization helps us avoid seeing the real problem? Bethany, who used to be a motivated student, has now lost interest in her schoolwork and has found a group of new friends with exciting new substances. She likes staying out on Friday and Saturday night so that she can party and not have to confront mom and dad. Mom and dad go along because they don't want to confront the reality of what's going on either. They had rather keep their head in the sand and rationalize about the declining grades. Okay. Now, in the rest of these examples, I'm going to move a little faster or else we would be here all day and all night. I just wanted to take you through this step by step for the first example. I think you get the idea. So next is minimization. Admitting superficially to the problem, but not admitting to the seriousness of the behavior or the consequences. It sounds like this. Well, it's not really that bad. It's only a 3-day suspension, and his coach said he would only have to miss 1 game. See how this works? It's subtle and it's very deceiving. Up next, blaming. Placing the blame for the behavior on someone else or some event. Her dad lets her get away with anything. Always somebody else's fault, right? Now, how about diversion? Diversion is changing the subject to avoid discussing a topic that may expose shame. It might sound something like this. You know, we are really excited about him going away to school. He's already been accepted at XYZ University. I bet you are excited about him going away to school. And we're not talking about how he just got a DUI over the weekend. Do you see how we shift that? Okay, next, hostility. Becoming angry or irritable whenever a reference is made to the real problem. This is an attempt to make the challenger back off. So does this sound familiar? All you want to do is point out what's wrong. You never give him any credit for the good things he does. Okay, how about intellectualizing? Avoiding an emotional awareness by attempting to deal with the problem by generalization, intellectual analysis, or theorizing. Well, all teenagers have to learn how to express themselves. Some do it through sports, some through academics, and some through experimenting with drugs. Sounds like a great way to keep your head in the sand, doesn't it? Then, of course, there's good old-fashioned lying. Lying, of course, is when a person seeks to confuse or distort the truth and take the focus off of the behavior. And this includes lies of commission, which are making things up that aren't true, omission, which is leaving out important details, and assent, which is agreeing with no intent of following through. Well, I don't want to tell his mom, this is just between us guys. After all, she would get really mad. Yes, even that is lying. And here's one I hear all the time. Uniqueness. Avoiding discussing the topic by claiming that no one else could understand what they're going through. She is really, really smart, exceptionally so. Sometimes I think she is just too smart for her own good. Yes, we are all unique, but really, we are more alike than we are different. Okay, and now when all else fails, victimization. Playing the victim in order to avoid taking responsibility for their behavior. It sounds something like this. We've had 3 deaths in our family in the past 2 years. His grandfather, his Aunt Mary, and his dad, my ex-husband. And even though he wasn't very close to his dad and hadn't seen him in over 10 years, I know that it was hard for him. And it appears that it's even harder to face the truth without excuses. And finally, positive thinking. We all know how important positive thinking is, right? Well, from a denial perspective, positive thinking are statements that focus on how the person's willpower, circumstances, or others will change the situation. If he can just finish high school and start college, I know this will straighten itself out. Okay, that's all of them. I hope you have seen yourself in some of these, and I hope you've been able to laugh at some of these. Why is this so important? Because busting denial leads to clarity. Remember from earlier, normal thinking doesn't apply? Well, denial tries to disguise itself as normal thinking. Busting denial leads to awareness and clarity leads to inspired action. The only hope for effectively dealing with the problem of drug use is taking inspired action. Now again, I want to remind you, use the worksheets to write out examples of how you have been trapped by denial. And next, go through the symptoms and consequences exercise. Then write out your denial buster declaration. All right, be courageous.